Welcome to another episode of the Hospitality Mentor Podcast. And today I am very excited. We've got Bill and Holly Bembenek, and they are the founders of the Temecula Wine Trolley and Wine Tours. Thank you for being here on the show today.
Thank you, Steve. We're
Thank you.
excited. We're excited to be on your show today and to speak with your audience.
Well, I'm excited to share your story. And I was saying to behind stage listeners, this is something unique. If you've heard our episodes, I'm always interviewing people in the hotels and giant restaurant groups, but this was really cool. I saw what they're doing. They're doing something very unique. Why don't we start with that first? Why don't you just kind of give us a 30-second download of what you're doing, and then we'll kind of work our way into it.
Sure. Yes. Holly and I started a business about a year and a half ago. It's called Temecula Wine Trolley Wine Tours here in the city of Temecula. We have a burgeoning winery industry, I should say, in Temecula. There are about 50 wineries in Temecula right now, and it's master plan to grow to 100 wineries. So we're kind of right in the middle of the growth process for Temecula, and we saw an opportunity to invite tourists. It's a massive market in Southern California, as you're probably aware. Where
Mhm.
Temecula is located, we have an opportunity to tap into pretty much all of the major counties. We draw business out of Riverside County, Los Angeles County, Orange County, and San Diego County, as well as tourist business from out of state, from all over. We've had guests on our trolley from all over the globe, actually, even internationally.
So
So we
cool.
saw that as an opportunity. We live in Temecula. We're actually Temecula residents, so we figured this would be an excellent opportunity for us to kind of leverage the infrastructure of the wine industry into a business that we both enjoy and both love. And Holly, uh, I'll say this right out front: Holly is built for this. She's actually the extrovert of the two of us. I like doing the boring things behind the scenes, and she's the face of the business and does a wonderful job entertaining our guests.
Otherwise known as a spotlight chaser. I'm pretty sure that's what he's trying to say. I've been, ever since I can remember, I've been wanting to be in the spotlight, and this was really an awesome way to showcase that. I've done singing, dancing, comedy. Um, I also do hosting events for um, one of the big events that we do here is the one for
Great
autism,
Oaks.
which is Great
Yeah.
Oaks. And so I've always been very comfortable up on stage. So with my ability to make everybody comfortable right off the bat and his knowledge of business combined, it just exploded. And we've been doing really, really good since then. So,
Oh, I love it. So that's where I want to get into. So let's talk about that. And for listeners, if you're not seeing it, Holly does have that hospitality smile. So make sure to watch it on the YouTube video. You can see
thank
her
you.
and Bill there. But let's talk about each one of you. So Holly, why don't we start with you? What was your first kind of foray into hospitality? You talked about being on stage and doing all these things, but what was your first foray into it? Is this it, or
Well,
were you
it
doing something before?
one of my first jobs, obviously, was hosting. I did actually host for a restaurant for a short amount of time. Um, And so that, to be honest with you, is the first face of any restaurant, right? Is that the hostess.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped out because I had to give everybody that comfortability, welcoming, let me get you situated. And so I think that was the first job that I had in hospitality. And then after that, I got into apartment managing and leasing. And I always used to tell everybody after somebody goes and looks at like 15 different apartments, they're not going to remember the apartment so much as they're going to remember the person that showed them the apartment, the person that went above and beyond, that was welcoming, that was smiling, that gave them that sense of home, comfortability, that could really paint the picture of this is where you want to live. And so you were on point, I guess you could say, as soon as somebody walked through that door. Again, first impression. And I think that's what started me on the process of being in hospitality because I enjoyed that. It was like every little show. It's like a showcase every day.
Yeah.
And the better you did at it, the bigger the reward. And I think that's what got me started in hospitality in general. So when we started Temecula Wine Trolley, um, it was just another way for me to showcase what I always loved doing, which is being the front runner, the person that that welcomes you on board. Just like when I was at church, I was the one that waved and welcomed everybody there. So
Come
it
on
just
in.
kind of to place.
All right, I love that. And Bill, how about you? How did you get started in this industry?
It's actually a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
And for some of your young listeners, it's probably valuable information. I stumbled into it. It wasn't anything that I didn't have aspirations to be in the hospitality industry. I graduated from school in a period of time where there was a fairly deep recession going on, so finding employment was challenging. And they were opening riverboat casinos in the Chicagoland market, which is where I grew up. And so I took a job um, on a floating casino on night shift. I'd never been in a casino in my life,
Wow.
um, paying jackpots off. And that just rolled into to opportunities for me as gaming expanded across the country. I was able to take on very quickly move into supervision roles and then management level roles, and that industry started to really expand across the country. So I was able to be involved in some expansions and developments. Moved into a director level role after that, and 28 years later, I was still in the business. As a CEO of one of the local properties here in Southern California, um, that was a full blown resort. We had 510 four diamond hotel rooms, 10 restaurants, a full casino, 2,000 plus employees, and I did that for, as I said, about 28 years. So I had a long career in hospitality before Holly and I even decided to launch our own small business here in Temecula.
That's why I was excited to talk to you because I've had a similar journey, not at that level, but as an executive at some big hotels. And I saw you were at the Pala Casino and you work your way up. That's just hard to get to that level in any place. And so let's start talking about that transition. So you kind of planted that seed. So you got to that level. What starts changing to where you're like, all right, this is not what I want to do right now? I think that's going to be helpful for a lot of people because I talk to a lot of people. They're like, man, I got to the top. Now what? What do I do now?
Yeah, it is. You know, I ended my gaming career. Well, I shouldn't say ended it. I transitioned because after that, I still stayed involved in gaming at different levels, helping some other startup casino ownership groups acquire licenses in various jurisdictions. But that's a very interesting topic because when you get to a certain level in any industry, you have to it's very challenging if you decide that you want to kind of shift gears because you've spent so much time building, a career. And to make that transition sometimes is very psychologically challenging to say, I'm going to step away and do something different. And it took me a long time. It took probably 3 or 4 years after I left the position of CEO at Paula to finally come to the conclusion that I was going to step away from that industry and do something different. Um, and I'm glad I did, not because I loved my career. I had that dynamic career. It was very demanding though, very time
Yeah.
consuming. Um, and to be able to shift gears at my stage of life though, and start something new that we own and that we can steer completely at our own discretion. It's both scary and then also very rewarding, very exciting. Every day is exciting. We get to make a multitude of decisions every day that guide our business. And so looking back on it now, even though it was a scary transition, it's probably been one of the most exciting things that I've ever undertaken. And to be able to do it with my wife, Holly, has been, that's been the icing on the cake. So
I
Sure.
love it. Look at the sparks are still there. I love it. So
Yeah,
insightful.
and, we actually just got married, in 23 too, so it was a very big moment all the way around, to have this, relationship both professionally and business-wise and personally, to have it go as well as it did is a blessing. It's been awesome.
I love hearing that. It's hard. Like I heard what you said there, Bill, because sometimes you're known as Bill, the hotel and casino guy, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Mhm.
"What are you doing? You got a wine trolley coming through town?" Right? I'm sure. I had friends when I left, they're like, "You're leaving hotels? What are you gonna do?" So,
Like,
I wanna talk about that part now, because for a lot of people, they always have an idea, like, "I got this idea. I don't know. We're having a couple glasses of wine. I'll think about that later." And then for me, it's usually when I think about it for like 2, 3 weeks, it's still there, like, "Alright, I gotta explore this a little bit." So kinda give me this founding story. How did this start to kinda percolate with you both? Was it something like, "This is my dream, I'm gonna have a wine trolley," or was it something that started happening over just a couple of, nights of talking?
Well, I used to work, in the wine industry, and once I got a taste of it, and I could, see what was out there and what we could do, that's when the transition happened because I came home, and I worked as a winery, so I was a server as well, and I'd worked for another tour company. So I had my feet got wet and I was like, "You know what? This is amazing." But, you get to that point where you're like, "I could do this differently. I could do that differently. We should do this." And I'd come home and I'd tell Bill all about it. And that's all it took. I mean, whoa, man, his brain
Mm,
works like nobody's business. And he's the one that does all the math in his head. He's like, "Do, do, 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 do." And he's like,
yeah.
"You know what? I think we could do something like this." And I lit up. I was like, "Oh, okay." And so,
Yeah.
yeah, he's extremely talented, and I think that, having some time off from doing the casino, and then, venturing out, to try something new, it really got his wheels turning, and you can go from
yeah, no, I mean, what really prompted it was what Holly just expressed was her passion for what she was doing. She would come home at night and tell me the stories of the day about how her day went, whether it was working at one of the wineries or working for the tour company. And I was like, that's interesting. She always had some really fun and unique, experiences out on her tours or at the winery. And then I started to ask some questions. I'm like, so how many people did you have on your tour today? You say, well, I had 35 people on my tour. Well, how much do they charge per person? And then, you start to do the math and you start to understand that there's an opportunity here for what could be a potentially healthy business.
Mhm.
And as Holly said, it's a competitive industry in Temecula. There are probably locally, there's probably about a dozen to 15 companies. But when you go outside of Temecula, what's happened is a lot of the transportation and tourist companies that have limos and sprinter vans and things like that, they've realized that there's an opportunity in Temecula as well. So we get transportation companies from LA, San Diego,
Mhm.
Riverside County bringing guests into the city as well. So there's probably 30 or 40 or maybe even 50 companies now that are bringing
Wow.
tour groups
Yeah.
to the Temecula wine industry area. And so it's hyper competitive. So one of the things that we decided to do is that we have to be unique. We're going to have to set ourselves apart. Hence the concept of a trolley. There are other companies that were running similar vehicles, but they're more like rustic vehicles. And we decided we want ours to be kind of like a black car vehicle, but
Serviceable.
with a,
Nice.
with a feel of an old time trolley. And so we had a vehicle actually manufactured
Mhm.
specifically for that purpose. And it has all of the bells and whistles and air
Yeah.
conditioning and great stereo and all of that. And
Beautiful. I'm looking at pictures of it now, so for listeners, make sure to check it out as they're talking because it is really nice inside.
Yeah, it's the black trolley and it's gold topped, and it really has like the level of standard is definitely the gold standard. So you have like the black car type luxury, and we really cater to our guests, which is not just a transportation, but it's an actual tour, where you get to learn about the wine and learn about Temecula. And we really focus our attention on our guests. It's not a pickup drop off. It is a complete from start to finish, a unique experience when it comes to wine tasting. And that's how we set ourselves apart, having the only luxury convertible trolley, because we can have it open air or
Oh,
enclosed.
cool.
And then having hosts stay with you throughout the whole tour, as well as having really amazing drivers. And we pick up and drop off in Old Town, which is an amazing place because then you're within walking distance to great restaurants. So we're not only helping out, not having drivers that are intoxicated out there, but also helping the town of Temecula by bringing uh, clientele to their restaurants and their shopping. And it's a beautiful town.
Yeah, I need some advice from you all towards the end of this show because I'm something I'm working on. Sim Not similar, but something to get people into a certain area of the city. But I wanna go back to, all right, you've done the math in
Yeah.
your head, you do it on the back of a napkin. You start building out an actual business plan because one thing to say, all right,
Mhm.
you just generated $100 ticket, you got $3,500 per tour,
Absolutely.
gas, how much is the trolley gonna cost? What else goes into it? What am I missing here? Or is that as simple as that? Is there other revenue streams that you're like, wow, we could add this from the wineries and sales? Is there other things that started to pop in your mind to make it like, all right, this is something we got to get into?
Sure. No, and Holly touched on some of it, because of the competitive nature of the industry here, and we're late to the game, right? There are
Right.
several operators in Temecula that have been doing this for 20 years. Some of them have 20 plus vehicles and, staffs of, 50 to 100 people on.
I'm sure they were not
Holly and
happy that you
Bill.
were getting it either. Yeah. I'm sure they're like, who are these two?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Holly and Bill, and we show up in our new trolley, and we're like, okay,
Here we
we're gonna
go.
jump in the pool with you. And
Mhm.
so the thing that we knew was that we were going to have a very cohesive, comprehensive approach to what we did, and that it's going to be a cumulative effect of all the little touches that will separate us. The trolley's great; people love the trolley, but that's just the hook that gets people to come to Temecula Wine Trolley. But one of the things I knew from my previous experience in the gaming and I'm sure you're aware of this in the hotel industry is everything has to be, all of the touches have to be there. Not so much to get the person into your establishment the first time, but to get them to want to come back and to tell their friends about your business, which is what really propels a business to grow. And so we knew that. And I knew that I had a partner that was going to just dazzle people from the personality and experience perspective. And she's done that. And she's hired hosts and trained them to do that as well. But we keep our vehicle clean. We keep it safe. We want to, we create an environment when our guests show up that lets them know that they're here to have a good time, but also to have a very safe time and a fun time. And the presentation of the vehicle it's always clean. Everything about what we do from A to Z, we know has to be on point because we're trying to separate ourselves right from the competition. And there are some really good competitors in this industry. That level of focus, I think, for any business, especially in hospitality, is what separates the good businesses from the excellent businesses. The excellent businesses that do lots of business and get return visits and return customers are the ones that pay attention to all of those details. And that's exhausting. It literally, I mean, Holly and I, we started this business a year and a half ago. And um, you've got to love what you're doing because if you don't, you will, it won't work.
Mhm.
You've got to love it because you're going to live it. And we do. We get up in the morning we even we've started now to try to set parameters like no work before or 7 o'clock in the morning. Usually doesn't
Never
work out.
works.
We're usually checking something or getting, we got inquiries overnight and one of us will start jumping on the computer and start to handle business. Um, but we love what we're doing. And as long as we love what we're doing, it'll work. But that was really what separated us and there's a lot of detail that I'm just giving you kind of the broad
No, I
strokes.
love
There's
it.
a
Yeah.
lot of details that go into our discussions on a daily basis. Like how can we further differentiate ourselves from our competitors? We have to stay on top of our game, but there's got to be other things that we can do. Holly has relationships with all of the wineries and she's very dynamic personality. And so people she's magnetic. She's a magnetic person. And so people gravitate to her, not just our guests, but also the people that we have relationships with at the various wineries. And so been able to cultivate special experiences for our guests. For instance, where when we show up at certain wineries, she's arranged for them to get behind the scenes tours at the winery. So it's just a little added touch and people feel like it's added value to their experience. Whereas some of the other tour operators that they may have been on kind of just as a shuttle service.
Off. Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. We just felt that our business model, we wanted to separate ourselves a little bit and we wanted it to really, the word is, and I know it sounds cliche these days, and Holly and I have talked about it. Really what it boils down to is the experience. That is what separates in the hospitality industry, what I feel separates some businesses from others because people, especially the younger generation, are really geared towards an experience more than just going to a place or
Yep.
they want to be able to after they're finished, they want to be able to tell their friends and family about the experience that they had. And that's what drives their decisions in terms of where they're going to spend their disposable income on things like this. So
No, I agree
we
with you. I just gave a speech of all things in San Diego to people. It's called a select registry. So they all own historic inns and bed and breakfasts. The theme
Mhm.
of my talk was creating unique experiences because if you create a memory, you create loyalty forever. So if you got their memory, you've got them loyal customers forever. So what you're doing, you're already doing those things, which I love seeing. And so I want to get rewind just a little bit because we had the business plan. You're making those connections. We see, all right, this is going to work. We find a little niche that we can get into with all the other players. Did you start day one with the trolley? Did it show up day one, or were you practicing another way right before that started? Or was it, hey, the trolley's here, let's open the doors, and people came in? What was it at
Well,
the
I can
day?
tell you, there's a lot of pre-planning before you make that big of a purchase. That's for
Yep.
sure. You need to make sure that you have somebody. And I was very fortunate to have Bill because he has the capacity and the capability to do that. It is a lot of work. It's rewarding work, but when it comes down to making sure you have all your permits, all your licenses, you make sure that your plan's going to work. You're going to make sure that you have the right amount of seating, that the trolley's not too big or too small. You know, are we going to go for a 10-seater? Are we going to go for a 20-seater? Are we going to go big? Are we going to add the bells and whistles to make it different? Are we going to need that to start off, or should we wait till the next trolley to do that? And I am very fortunate to have a husband that is detailed, and you have to be detailed for this because you can't miss a permit. You can't miss something that's timed before you even open the door or even think about purchasing the trolley and even getting the trolley back here.
that's what I was
Yeah. This poor guy had to drive all the way through the whole United States from, what is it? I always get it wrong.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
Oh, wow.
where we got it built. So there is a lot of detailed work that Bill had to put into it before we even thought about purchasing. And then even just getting his commercial's driver's license. He went and got a CDL, and just so that we knew that we had a backup in case somebody couldn't drive, that Bill was able to drive. And he did for the first full year until we were able to get our first employees. So it's a lot of commitment from both parties when you're opening up a business, but it's that combination and that drive because now that we're here, we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, all the steps in the process that got you here, you forget because you're overwhelmed with how well you're doing and the fact that, our business is doing really good because of all that little detail work that we did at the beginning. You forget how hard it was, and it's not easy. Is it worth it? Yes. But is it easy? No. But then again, every time you're going through one of those steps uh, or that process, um, you have to think to yourself, well, everybody else has to do it if they want to succeed at the level that you want to get to, right? So that kind of edges you on a little bit more and a little bit more.
I would add, Steve, to your question that for anytime you take on something that's for us, this was new, right? We hadn't done a tour business before. And I'm sure that you can relate to this as well. Anytime you take on something that's new, you can prepare. You can do the best that you can write down lists of questions and check all the boxes. And we did that. We thought it through. We both brought our unique perspectives to the table, and that helped out a lot. then you launch the business. And when you launch the business, there's all kinds of curveballs that come at you that you never saw, that you never anticipated. And you've just got to be quick on your feet, and you've got to be willing to understand that there are going to be things that are going to slip through the cracks, and you just got to be fleet of foot to be able to adjust your business model a little bit or make some changes and put in a little bit extra time on the front end, because there's going to be things that you didn't contemplate or that you couldn't have seen until you actually get into the daily business of operating business.
So what was something that popped up? 'Cause it's one that I know the feeling when you open it for the first time, you open the doors of business, you were opening the doors to a trolley and people are coming to you. What is that like? That's you're hands on. I've never opened like a store like this. I feel like you're a mobile store creating experiences. What was that like?
Well, let me give you this is a perfect example. So we take it to our first tour, right? And luckily it was one of our really good friends that
Oh my gosh.
got a, you forgot this.
Uh,
He got a group together for us
18.
because we had just launched
Yeah.
our online
Soft opening.
advertising. So
yeah.
we're unknown, right? So he put this group together for us of 18 people, brought them up from San Diego and different parts of Southern California. And here we go out to wine country in August. So it's 100 degrees in our brand new trolley, and with Bill, the new CDL driver who's never really driven a tour before. And so we go out and we're 2/3, 3/3 into the tour. And I start to notice that there's some lights on the dash of the trolley that are starting to show indications that the vehicle may be under distress.
Brand new trolley.
Brand new.
Brand new.
It
Of
has less
course.
than a couple thousand miles on it. And so I'm not a mechanic, but I have enough knowledge to understand, hey, something's not right. And so we have 18 people out there. So now we get through the last winery and we're on our way back to Old Town, and more lights are coming on. And now I can feel the air conditioning is starting to fail, and it's hot, and we've got a lot of people on the vehicle. And now the vehicle's really starting to show, all the lights are on the dash. And I had to make a decision, and I was like, I've got to pull the vehicle over because I don't know what's going on, but it's not good. Make a turn off of the main drag as we're heading back, probably about a mile back to our destination, and the vehicle just dies. Brand new vehicle.
Yeah.
So
With 18 people on out, and it was end of July, I think. But yeah,
yeah, our first tour. Luckily, like I said, it was kind
friends,
of
thank goodness.
our our friends that brought the group. So anyway, we ended up I said, Holly, I'm going to go to an automotive store. I think we have a battery issue. Something's going on with battery. So I'm going to go get a new battery, start Ubering, just
Mhm.
buy Ubers, just buy a bunch of Ubers and Uber everybody back to Old Town. She did that. She
Mhm.
took care of the gas. I went and got the battery, was able to get the vehicle started enough to get it in. Long story short, it was a defective manufacturer alternator on, once we got it back to the dealership. They said, yeah, it's just one of
Just
those
a bad
things.
part.
It was
You're
a
like,
bad
what?
part. We put a new one in. We haven't had a problem, but that was our first tour.
Mhm.
At least it was friends. How much is a trolley? A range? If I wanted to buy this trolley tomorrow before
Oh,
it be
our
broken?
our trolley all in with tax and everything is right around 200,000.
Yeah, so you bought a $200,000 trolley. I can only imagine what you were feeling that day. Like, what the
We
heck?
looked at each other and went,
What?
"Are you serious? Is this really happening right now?" I'm like, "I don't know that many jokes. I can't keep a routine
Yeah.
that long." It actually turned out, like I said, just fine. We got everybody Ubers back to their car, and they said they had a great time because they finished majority of the tour, and that's how we knew the success was gonna be there. With the exception of that little glitch at the end, they all had a really great time. And luckily, we have not had an issue since then, and we do double and triple tours, which is really awesome. And that's why we went with a brand new vehicle, so we didn't have those issues, and we haven't had them again, thank goodness. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's to if that didn't deter us, I don't know what, but like, sell it, let's go. Isn't it? We're done. But we did it. We were like, we kept going and kept
Yep.
forging on. And it's been an amazing experience since then.
No, I love it. And so you can see from day one. So, one thing I did look at, I always look at everyone's reviews, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes I'll mention them, sometimes I won't. But you've got 5 stars on Google, which is almost impossible with 584 people leaving you these reviews.
Mhm.
That means you have a perfect score in what you're
Mhm.
doing here to the public. How do you achieve that? How is that happening that people are enjoying it so much? He's pointing, for listeners, he's pointing over at Ollie here.
He's the
Bill's pointing
reason
for
for
you.
that. And
Are you the
it-
reason? Is it you're bribing people, or is it because they're having such
No,
fun?
you know what? I really it's funny because you would think that like I'm right at the end of the tour, I have my, please leave a Google review. Please leave a Google
Yeah.
review. It's not like that. Luckily, not only have I enjoy what I do and I think it shows, but I also have our Instagram, which is TW Trolley. And so something that I do is I leave a video for each tour. So not only do they have the memory that they have, but they can also look on TW Trolley and get their own little personal, and it's an advertisement
Oh,
video
cool.
for us, but it gets them to be like their own little commercial. And so I think when I let them know that their video's been posted, they see that really took care of them. We gave them a wonderful experience. And then we gave them a video. We went above and beyond and gave them a video of it. And I think that creates a feeling of, you know what, they did so much for us. The least thing we could do is give them a Google review. And I've been very grateful and thankful because a lot of things can happen on a tour, whether someone orders their food late
Yep.
or like your reputation also banks on how good the winery does with each individual. So if a server's not doing their job, or if they have an attitude or whatever it may be, that reflects on your tour. So we're very cautious if somebody does have a issue that we resolve it right away, or we will move on to another winery that maybe gives us a little bit better a treatment. But the main thing is I'm blown away by the amount of support and love by people. And I think it's because we really do love what we do and we want you to have an amazing time. And it's not routine for us. Each winery is handpicked. When you come on the trolley, you are greeted with a smile. Here's the one thing that I noticed when I was out as a server watching other servers and going into the industry, and a lot of the younger uh, people, maybe because they don't have many one-on-one contacts as I did in my life, like having to say hi and be face to face, not having to do as many videos and things like that. It's almost like a lost art to uh, be uh, compatible with somebody right off the bat, like have that comfort level with somebody right off the bat. So I attribute a lot of that success to not only just my personality in general and that I love what I do and it shows, but also the hosts that I hire. I have to have that comfortability with them right off the bat. I see that they're engaged, that they make eye contact, that they ask questions, that they look at, for example, if someone is maybe a little bit more quiet, that they reach out a little bit and saying, well, what's your favorite one? Maybe I can go with you and we can look for something together. So it's that communication that you have with everybody. It's that comfortability that you have to make within a 2 minute, second, right when they come on board. And the wine doesn't hurt, I'll tell you that
Yep.
much. So the fact that they're having a little good time with the wine, and that's the best thing about wine is it's a really conversation starter. So, you find something that connects and you keep going with that connectivity and it seems to be working. So grateful for that. Um,
Yeah.
I,
You're
I
nailing
would,
it, right?
I
Like
would,
you're making things personal. You're anticipating the guest needs. You're creating something for them that they hadn't seen before. I think you're hitting all the notes just by having them like that.
and
Bill, what were you
I,
going to say?
I would, I would, I would, in summary to what Holly just said, really what it is, in my opinion, is that the reason why we have so many Google reviews in such a short period of time is that the experience that our guests have on our trolley, and this is why I said attributable to Holly is it's authentic. She really loves what she does. She really is invested in the experience of our guests when they're on the trolley. And
As well as our
I'm not just
guides.
saying that. It's amazing to me. Like I couldn't do it. Holly has said, Bill, you could, if I can't do it, you could host one day a month. Can't do it. It is a, I don't know if it's a skill, but it's an intangible that Holly brings to the table that, it's a charisma and a level of authenticity that she forms in a very short period of time, in a 2 or 3 hour period of time. She forms relationships with people. And I believe that that's why so many people feel compelled to leave a review because they have such an authentically awesome experience during our tours that they feel that, like Holly
Mhm.
said, that's the least they could do is leave a review. And it's really helped our business grow in a short period of time, helped their small business grow.
No, it's
And
amazing.
if you
I've
notice,
never
on those 5-star reviews, each of the guides or the posts, um, they get reviews too. And we have a basic way of doing things, which is, like you said, authenticity, be yourself. We don't need another Holly. We need like an Alex or a Lori or a Casey or something. Like we need you to be you, bring that same authenticity, bring that same care, that kindness, that inquisitive nature that you have, and do your tour. We'll set you up with success, and then you make it part of your own. So each one of our guides and our drivers are just kind. Like they smile, they wave, they hand out the waters and snacks that we have on board. So it's when you're running a hospitality business, like we said before, it is from start to your website to the last time that you're handing somebody their bottle of wine and they're walking back to their car. I mean, it's the whole experience. You're on point the whole time, and it makes a huge difference. And it does help that we both love what we do. So it does show.
yeah, and I'll bet you mentioned you called it a hospitality company, right? I'm sure a lot of other
Mhm.
people, "Oh, it's a tour company or transportation." Like, you're calling it this is hospitality. You can see it. You don't see this ever, right? Like, any hotel, even the best hotels are at 4.8, right? Like, you are nailing what you're doing. So you kinda mentioned it, you have multiple people on the team. How many
Mhm.
trolleys do you have now? Is it still 1? Are you growing?
Just the
What are you
one.
go Just got the 1. So what is the plan for
Just
you?
the
Is it,
one.
"Hey, we like being small, we wanna keep it here, we like it nice and cozy," or is there a goal to continue to grow and share more of your hospitality?
Well, um, we want to grow. I don't think that neither of us really are interested in creating a tourism dynasty, so to speak, but we do want to grow. And we're at the stage right now where we could probably justify bringing more vehicles on board. We just don't want to grow too fast. We don't want to dilute
Mhm.
the experience that we've created. Um, what we've learned is that we can handle a lot with one trolley. It's sometimes a little stressful. For instance, this past weekend we did 3 concurrent tours at one time, where we'll go pick up a group of 18 people, take them out to wine country. I head back to Old Town, get 18 more people, take them out to wine country.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Go back, get another group of 18 and take them out to wine country, and then you juggle them all day long. So that can be a little stressful. I on those tours right now, I'm the only one that drives those tours. I don't want to put our drivers through that. But we're able to do multiple tours with one vehicle. Um, we're at the stage where we've had conversations probably for the last 3 months about bringing on additional vehicles. And I would envision that we're going to pull the trigger on that here probably in the next 6 months or so. Just because the business is going to necessitate that we have multiple vehicles, and multiple drivers out. So it's a good problem to have. It's just trying to find that right point where it makes sense to bring on, because there's added expense with that. There's added insurance
Of course,
costs
yeah.
and operational costs that come with it. And, so we just want to be very smart about the decisions that we make. We feel we have a really, really solid foundation now. And now it's like, okay, how do we build on that? And as I said, not dilute what we've built. We want to make
Right,
sure
yeah.
that the quality level, the experience stays at the level that our customers, because we're starting to see a lot of return customers, even in just a short period of time. We're starting to see a lot of people bring. We just this weekend we had a young lady on the tour who brought like three or four new customers for us, three or four of her friends back from the experience. She had ridden with us last February, and she brought three or four of her friends back onto the tour
Yeah.
just this past weekend. And so we're starting to see that, and that's starting to snowball, and create more bookings for us. So all good problems to have. We just want to be very judicious with the level of growth and how to handle it.
So my brain
That's
goes straight to,
really
all right, I'm going to
insightful.
revenue. Yeah. My brain's like, I'm going to revenue manage this. I'm going to be turning up the ticket prices. But then there's that level where, all right, that's service versus that ticket price. Is that what you're doing to continue to grow?
Yeah, we really do a lot of competitive analysis to make sure that our price point is where we want it to be, which is quite honestly somewhere in the middle of the pack. We don't, we feel that we have a somewhat elevated product, but we don't want to be the highest price ticket in the market. That served us well. I think if we kind of just like meld right into the fold there really nicely, in terms of price point. I don't see that changing. I think that it allows us to cast a really wide net into a very deep market. And I think that just increases your chances for success. And so that will probably be, the way that we focus our business model, even as we expand in the market. There are pros and cons to, pricing tours. You can,
Yeah.
if you want to be in the business of drawing larger groups of people, obviously, if you reduce your prices, you could we could fill the trolley probably a lot more often than we are right now. But there are consequences to that. And so we feel comfortable with where we're
Yeah.
at.
Mhm.
It's worked
I
well
think you're
for
doing
us.
great.
And
You
yep.
can see it. Look, on the public reviews, they don't lie, right? Even if you think they're doing great, they'll give you a 1 star if they just
Yeah.
anything bad happens sometimes. So you can see it doing really well. And so now, what is the what are you most excited about? I'm not asking for your 5-year plan, but for this coming year, what are you most excited about?
Well, I can tell you, what I'm most excited about is maybe branching out and getting because we've had some success this last year, hopefully branching out and doing more unique tours. We're opening up um, a beer and wine tour. So that would be every Sunday. So expanding on those tours, maybe possibly opening up a specialty tour of, a certain just just the certain places off Deep Portola, the wineries there. So maybe that kind of thing, maybe getting into a little bit more merchandise might be something that we might want to do.
Exciting.
Because we did put some time and attention into our logo, and it's pretty awesome. And then also, I think to see finally be able to see the numbers from last year to be able to compare them from this year to see what direction we're going in is also very exciting. We get happy at the end to figure out how we're doing, And I also just think there's a couple new wineries that might be opening up, that kind of thing, and really honing in on what we're already doing well and making sure that there's ways that we can improve on it as we go.
Yeah, I think, the beer and wine that that came along because probably about 80 to 85% of our clientele are women, that enjoy the wine tasting side of it. And we feel that there's an audience with men that would come along. Some of the wineries have started to introduce microbrews with their wineries. So if we can
Pretty cool.
kind of
Hmm.
tie those two together, maybe, when the wives all go out, they might want to bring their husbands as long as the husbands can, enjoy a beer. They may not be into wine as much. So it's trying to grow the business in that way as well. For me, probably the thing that's most exciting or that I'm looking forward to in this next year, it's one of the reasons why we started the business was not so much for us to enjoy the fruits of our labor, but to build a team
Hmm.
of people of quality people that could also experience, the growth of the business and be part of it as well. And we're at that stage now where we're starting to bring on on a team of people. I I worked in my previous capacities in a very large organization with lots of
Right.
people, and I loved it. It was just challenging because it's so hard to have relationships with that many people at a high level because it's just there's not enough hours in the day. This is different where we really get to know the people that we're working with and um, get to really bring on some incredibly talented people and build a nice small team of people and then create an environment. Our goal when we started this, we talked about it is, what would be really rewarding is to have a group of people that love to come to work.
Mhm.
That's what we want. We want this business at some point. Holly and I imagine stepping back and bringing on some management level people and kind of steering the business and to be able to have a group of people that just feel appreciated and work in a business that's really well run and are enjoying what they're doing and get up in the morning. Cause I've had that in my career. I've enjoyed that where I've worked for places where Monday morning would roll along and I'm in my car driving to work, like excited.
Mhm.
And that is to me, we all work a lot in our lives. That's the most rewarding thing that you can have. If you can enjoy what you do for a living, yeah, I mean, the rest is just icing on the cake. And so we would love to create that kind of an environment for our team. And we're at that point now where we're starting to build that team.
I love that. I think that's an amazing thing because it's just true. We work so many hours, and I've been in places I'm sure you both have been too. You're like, "Oh my god, I gotta go to this place today."
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
glad you're building something that people can be proud of and that you're excited about. Look, my last question for you, and I want to tweak this just a little bit, is I'm focused now on people building companies. So if you could give advice, one piece of advice to someone that was starting their hospitality company today, from what you've learned, what advice are you giving them today?
Mine would be don't stop. Don't stop. You're never gonna get there if you stop in between, and there's so many different but you just have to keep going. Don't stop. If this is a dream, if this is something that you wanna do, you gotta pursue. You gotta keep going, and during all of this, it's been very difficult at times, or we might get a no, and you can't stop at no. I say, keep going. Don't stop. That's my number one thing is because you can do it. It is not easy because if it was easy, everybody else would do it. But if you believe in it and you know that something that you can do very, very well, don't stop. Don't let those steps or hurdles get in your way because you will get over them if you just keep going.
Oh, you got
And I
me
think
fired
that,
up. You got me fired up. I'm
Yeah.
working on something. She's got me fired up today. Bill, you got a
Good.
tough act to follow here, Bill.
I would say that I would tell people that are interested in starting their own business, especially small business, um, that it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And so you've got to kind of have that mindset when you get into it that this is it's going to require a lot of energy and attention to be exerted over an extended period of time. Because there's going to be a lot of things like we mentioned earlier. There are going to be a lot of things that are going to be unforeseen until you're actually in the throes of operating your business. And so you want to be prepared for that mentally. You need to be prepared for it financially. I mean, you need to be well capitalized. I know a lot of businesses struggle because, they assess what the costs are to launch their business. They find that capital and they open it with fingers crossed that that's going to be enough to get it done. And so, and I'm not saying that that can't work out. I'm just saying that takes some stress away if you have, um, some avenues
Good.
or access to capital for unforeseen circumstances that may come along because they're going to come along. I
Mhm.
mean, there's going to be something, whether it's you need more marketing expense or insurance costs go up, or you need to bring on more capital expenditures to make the business run. Just be prepared for that. That it's going to take probably. I guess the way to summarize that is it's going to be more than you expect, and so just kind of have that kind of mentally in your head. And as long as you're a hard charging person that is enjoying what you're doing, you can get over those hurdles. You just got to keep taking them one at a time.
And here's
Wow.
one last thing that I wanted to say about that is I both Bill and I are very fortunate because we did this together and we're each other's support system. And obviously we love each other and we want to see each other succeed. I think another huge thing is to surround yourself with like-minded people, as well as people that don't want to rain on your parade. It's always good to have reality. And of course that's nice, but you want to surround yourself with people that are saying, you can do it. How can I help you? Let's figure out this together. Because if you surround yourself with those type of people, you'll find a way. Other than if you surround yourself with the people that say it can't happen, you won't be able to do it. That's not, it really makes a big difference that you surround yourself with people that are, um, like I said, reality's good, but that support you, that think that your idea is amazing and want to help and see the same idea that you have come to fruition. Is that, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. So um,
It's great
it's
advice.
it's the people that you have around you as well.
No, I love it. I think you guys shared in a lot of things. It's the emotion, it's the mindset, it's also making sure you're planned correctly and putting those things together that you have to do to be successful. And you both nailed it. And so for listeners, first, I want to thank Bill and Holly for being on here, but listeners, make sure to check out Temecula Wine Trolley because what they're doing online is awesome. If you're going to be out there, go see them. And why not make a trip? Now you got me all motivated to come out there
Yeah.
again,
Well, thank you,
make the
Steve.
trip
It was
and
a
come
pleasure.
and be on a tour with you. And for anyone listening out here, if you found this of value, you found one of the stories of value, one of your friends probably will too. So make sure to share this episode with them. They will definitely thank you. So, Bill and Holly, I appreciate you joining again. Very grateful you spent this hour with me because I know how busy you are running this successful company. Thank you very much.